Picture yourself standing in St. Peter's Square, where millions of Catholic hearts turn as white smoke rises from the Sistine Chapel's chimney. It's the sign a new pope has been chosen. But when the name is announced, it's not Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, the man dubbed Asia's Francis. Instead, Robert Francis Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV, steps onto the balcony. The world pauses for a moment, then social media erupts, especially in the Philippines, where millions mourn the dream of an Asian pope. Today, we'll uncover the 4 deep reasons why Cardinal Tagle wasn't chosen as St. Peter's successor. This isn't just a story about an election. It's a journey into how the Catholic Church operates, the hidden dynamics behind the conclave of cardinals, and a lesson about faith that transcends human predictions. The conclave isn't like any election. Cardinals gather in silence, praying, seeking the Holy Spirit's guidance. In that sacred space, Cardinal Tagle was once a shining star. Former Archbishop of Manila, now prefect of the Dicastery for Evangelization, he's beloved for his warmth and Francis-like style. But the first reason he wasn't chosen is the decline of his influence within the Vatican's Curia. Tagle once led Caritas International, a global Catholic charity, earning the Asia's Francis nickname. But years ago, he was removed from that role during a broader Vatican overhaul. It wasn't personal, but it diminished his clout in Rome's power circles. Some insiders described him as kind but lacking in management skills, slow to make tough calls. These quiet critiques likely lingered in the minds of cardinals as they pondered who could lead 1.4 billion Catholics. The Church faces complex challenges: financial crises, internal divisions, global pressures. A candidate questioned on organizational strength might give pause. Imagine you're a cardinal, tasked with choosing a leader for 1 billion souls. You need stability, decisive leadership. Tagle's faith is unquestioned, but the papacy demands more. What else shaped this historic decision? Let's dive deeper. Now, let's step deeper into the conclave, where history-changing decisions unfold in silence. We've explored how Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's influence in the Vatican waned. But another, perhaps surprising factor held him back: excessive media attention. Tagle is a phenomenon. The press calls him Little Francis for his down-to-earth charm and heartfelt homilies. When Pope Francis visited the Philippines, millions lined the streets, and Tagle was at his side, embodying Asia's hope. But in the conclave, where discretion is prized, this spotlight became a double-edged sword. Some cardinals, especially conservatives, worried that media hype could overshadow the Church's sacred mission. They also feared Tagle would continue Francis's bold reforms, which not all support. A small but telling detail: he faced petty criticism in Vatican press for the car that picked him up after Francis's Budapest visit. Such scrutiny shows how media pressure made him a reluctant focal point. Now, let's turn to the third reason: the rise of Cardinal Robert Prevost. Pope Leo XIV wasn't a media darling before the conclave, yet he had what cardinals sought: balance. With pastoral experience in Peru, a key role as prefect of the Dicastery for Bishops, and a humble leadership style, Prevost won over the conclave in just 4 ballots. Seen as a bridge between reform and tradition, he avoided controversy and fostered unity. While Tagle faced media scrutiny, Prevost quietly built support through his listening skills and practical experience. Picture yourself as a cardinal, choosing between a media star and a steady, understated leader. Prevost, with his stability and knack for consensus, emerged as the safer bet. But the story doesn't end here. One final factor, tied to the world beyond Vatican walls, sealed this outcome: We're now arriving at the final chapter of our journey, one marked not just by papal politics, but by dreams, prayers, and the silent hopes of millions. We've walked through Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's declining influence within the Vatican, the burden of overwhelming media attention, and the quiet yet strategic rise of Cardinal Robert Prevost. But there's one last force that shaped this outcome, one often invisible, yet undeniably powerful: the global politics within the Church itself. After Pope Francis, a trailblazing pontiff from South America, many cardinals felt that the next successor to St. Peter should bring a different kind of equilibrium. The Church, though universal in nature, still operates within a world of geopolitical realities. Some cardinals believed that to maintain harmony and credibility in increasingly polarized times, the papacy needed someone with strong ties to the Western world. Asia, despite its vibrant Catholic communities and the heartfelt aspirations of its people, remains underrepresented in the College of Cardinals. And that matters. Cardinal Tagle, though beloved and respected, simply didn't have the political infrastructure, the broad network of allies in Europe and Latin America, to build the momentum needed to secure the papacy. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV, emerged as a candidate who checked many of those strategic boxes. Born in Chicago, with pastoral experience in Peru, and a tenure as prefect of the dicastery for bishops, he stood at a rare intersection: American by origin, Latin American by experience, and Vatican-tested by responsibility. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't a media icon. But in a room of decision-makers seeking unity over personality, Prevost's balance became his greatest strength. He could speak the language of tradition while still understanding the urgency of reform. He could bridge continents without sparking controversy. He represented, in the eyes of many, a calm center in a time of global and ecclesial storms. Think of the Vatican not as a singular voice, but as a symphony. Every region, every culture, every theological leaning plays a note. The cardinals, in choosing a pope, are not just choosing a leader. They're tuning the future of that symphony. And in this moment, they chose harmony over charisma. They chose steadiness over symbolism. For all his gifts and holiness, Cardinal Tagle couldn't offer the same global reach, at least not in the political sense. He was the soul, but Prevost was the structure. Yet this decision, while practical, left a quiet ache, especially in the Philippines and across Asia. For many, Tagle was more than a cardinal. He was a symbol of long-awaited representation, a beacon of hope that the universal church would finally see itself reflected from the East. His non-election was a wound to the faithful, not because he failed, but because a dream was deferred. But let's be clear, Cardinal Tagle's journey is far from over. The papacy is only one form of leadership. Influence takes many shapes. As prefect of the dicastery for evangelization, he still holds one of the most globally impactful roles in the Church. His voice continues to echo through synods, sermons, and the lives he touches, especially in places often overlooked. He is, and will remain, a vital figure in the Church's unfolding mission. Pope Leo XIV, in his humility and calm resolve, now carries the weight of that mission forward. And while he may not have inspired headlines before the conclave, he now stands as a shepherd for all, guided not by popularity, but by prayer. When the white smoke rose above the Sistine Chapel, it carried with it both joy and sorrow, cheers and tears. It reminded us that the Church is not shaped solely by human desire, but by divine timing. Cardinal Tagle's path reminds us to trust that timing, even when it wounds. And Pope Leo XIV's rise reminds us that sometimes God chooses not the expected, but the needed. So, What do you think? Does Cardinal Tagle's story resonate with your hopes for the Church? And how do you see Pope Leo XIV shaping this new chapter? Let's talk in the comments, because this isn't just a story about leadership. It's about faith, unity, and the mysterious work of the Spirit that guides us all.